Hello, everybody, and welcome to Plaid Stallion's Toy Ventures. I am Brian, your host, and I'm jazzed to be bringing you this episode because it's reuniting me with a childhood toy, and I also get to tell you some childhood trauma surrounding it, and I'll get into that a little later. What I'm talking about this week is the Big Jim Devil River Trip. This is a set put out in the early 1970s by Mattel in what would be part of what we now call the All-Star era of Big Jim. I collect Big Jim, but due to space reasons, I keep it focused on the later pack range of action figures. The All-Stars line was following a particularly non-violent toy trend after the growing anti-war sentiment of the late 1960s. Earlier in this decade, this saw Hasbro's G.I. Joe go from a military man with a haircut you could set your watch to a bearded, globe-trotting adventurer, and it was a massive success. And one of the biggest factors aiding that transition from soldier to adventurer was the creation of these man versus nature adventures that Hasbro kind of pioneered. You could pit Joe against pygmy gorillas, white tigers, sharks, giant spiders, and even the abominable
Abominable.
Snowman. When Mattel decided to wade into the market and create their own man of action in 1972, they very wisely picked up on this trend and created their own versions of Big Jim capturing gorillas, rhinos, and even giant clams. Just a quick aside, I wanted this set so bad as a kid. It should be noted that after Big Jim and G.I. Joe faded away, this toy theme would be championed by the Fisher-Price Adventure people. And honestly, this sort of toy concept will never die. It just keeps evolving and changing. The Devil River set is my absolute favorite from the All-Star era of Big Jim, and I'll explain why. Mainly, it was the only one I ever had. I had a great childhood, but I had to pick my battles on larger toys, and play sets were a real rarity. I made a cardboard Hall of Justice and cardboard Star Trek bridges. I was fine. The main appeal of this set for me as a kid was the fan boat. It's such an exotic vehicle for a kid in Toronto. I was mesmerized by them as a kid, and one lucky Saturday afternoon, I somehow talked my mum into buying this at Eaton. There really isn't much of a plot on the box itself, just that Jim is in the Everglades for some reason, and he's tasked with capturing an alligator. And this is where we meet the true star of this toy. Before we get into that, I want to point out that Hasbro, around the same time, also released a fanboat-themed adventure called Devil of the Deep, which involves G.I. Joe capturing a manta ray. I'm not sure if it was parallel development or if the folks at Mattel just straight up didn't care, but it's odd they both have the same vehicle with the word devil in it. Full disclosure, I really wanted this toy as a child as well, and that's why I own it now. This really was like top 5 G.I. Joe items I wanted. However, the big difference between Hasbro's approach and Mattel's were the animals themselves. A lot of Joe's opponents were undersized and weren't much different than the rubber, jiggler animals you would get from companies like Imperial Toy. You got an inanimate character, which, trust me, never bothered me as a child. I'm just noticing it as an adult. However, Mattel went a little further with their beasts and added some action features. I mean, the Big Jim gorilla is imposing, it has articulation, it has action features. But this alligator is my absolute favorite, as the engineers at Mattel went out of their way to make him a fun plaything in his own right. If you place him on the ground and push him forward, he becomes animated. You can make him, as they say on the box, snap and slither. And it's a really fantastic feature. It gives this toy so much personality. I honestly think Mattel could have sold this guy on his own, and kids like me would have bought him. What makes it even more impressive is they've tied it into the swamp boat. You see, once Jim captures the alligator with his noose, there is a special gear on the boat itself that connects to the gator through the use of a rubber band. Now, this is not an original 70s rubber band. And he will continue to snap and slither while Jim takes him home. Honestly, I'm really shocked that Mattel didn't bring this guy back for Masters of the Universe. It just seems like such a perfect accessory for He-Man to fight. This set was also quite popular internationally. It was released abroad by companies like Congost in Spain, and in Mexico by Cipsa, where it got this absolutely killer window box. Now, me personally, I've been waiting years to track one of these down in the Canadian box, just like the one I got at Eaton's all those years ago, and I did manage to find this in Quebec last month. In 1975, Mattel quietly retired the Big Jim All-Stars line, in North America at least, including this set. But Mattel is one of the greatest toy recyclers in history, and they re-released many of the All-Star vehicles with new detailing under the Pack banner. The Swamp Boat would return, sans the Alligator sadly, as the Pack's Swamp Patrol boat. As much as I say I'm really content with my Big Jim collection, I still think about and dream about getting one of these in the box for a great price. It is just so cool. The Pack Swamp Patrol boat features a lot of differences from the original. The gator gears are gone, for one thing, and in its place, a spring-loaded missile launcher with 4 missiles. Let me tell you right now, 70s toys with spring-loaded stuff, they are really unpredictable, and in my attempts to try and make this fire, it just basically sent missiles flying all over the studio that I had to hunt for. I really admit that Mattel did a great job making this look badass. It's such a nice toy. I just wish it wasn't so rare and pricey in the box. So what is my beef? What is my trauma with this toy? Let me start by saying I couldn't have been older than 4 and was most likely 3 when I picked this up. It's one of those memories that gets more and more dreamlike as we get older, but it's really etched in my brain. I can even, feel the wind that day. I bought this because it was a boat, and as a kid, I really wanted to be a frogman. I was obsessed with deep-sea diving, submarines, you name it. So I hastily put the toy together in the car, grabbed my Big Jim figure, and raced to the backyard and plopped this in the pool, where it promptly sank. As I fished it out and tried to save the stickers, my mom explained to me that it wasn't really a working boat, and, well, I just couldn't wrap my head around that as a kid. It didn't do what I thought it was supposed to do on the box. If it was written anywhere on the instructions, I couldn't have read it, so this was a hard realization for me. However, all of this was made okay by the Alligator, who would go on to harass not only Big Jim, but Bullet Man, the Mego superheroes, the Star Trek figures, Action Jackson, and Star Wars. The Swamp Boat would eventually disappear, but I had the Alligator until my mom gave away some childhood toys to a coworker's kid, and I really missed him. So I'm very happy to have this set back in my collection, and I did manage to pick up another Big Jim Pack Grail, which I never thought I would, and I'll share that next. Issue 13 of our magazine, Toy Ventures, is shipping this week, and it features articles on Aquaman toys, Mego's long-lost plans for 1983, and much, much more. You can find the info at the Plaid Stallion shop, and the link is below. Thank you for considering. So my Big Jim good luck continues in 2025 with this, the Martial Arts Double Trouble Disguise outfit. I collect karate gis, and of course, this being the Pack gi is, I had to have it. I do not plan on getting all the Double Trouble outfits, but this one was a priority for me, and I did manage to find it on a Canadian card. It almost got lost in the mail, and thanks to a miracle, it was misdelivered. It did show up, and basically the difference between the US and the Canadian versions is this sticker. It's a real challenge to track them down on these Canadian cards like this. They do not pop up very much, and that's sort of what I enjoy about this more than anything, is the hunt. Now, before I close this episode, I did want to point out something I noticed in editing, and that is on the reissue, the Swamp Patrol pack boat, it actually says on the box, toy does not float in water.
See, because of me, now they have a warning.
Now, I'm 100% sure my mom did not call Mattel to complain about this, but clearly some people did. I am not alone in thinking this was supposed to float, so I do feel a bit validated by that. That's my look at the Big Jim Devil River Trip playset. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know your thoughts on Big Jim and what your favorite man versus nature toy was as a kid. I'll be back next week with a new episode. Until then, be well, talk toys, not other people, and keep your toys out of the pool. Cheers.